So we all know that the world is in not a very good state right now. There's been so many bad things happening, as we know, and a lot of the time I am hearing people on the internet, particularly on Twitter, which is probably the social media app that I use the most, saying that we need to bring back woke. And I could not agree with that statement more. In 2020, after George Floyd was murdered, there was a rise in wokeness. I think a lot of people, for the first time, really tried to tap into social issues and injustices and bad things that were happening and really take an effort to educate themselves. There was a lot of shifts in the language we use, and a lot of things changed at that time. And now, 5 years on from that event, it feels like we've gone so backwards. Now it feels like it's getting to the point again where wokeness is being weaponized. It feels like it's a word that's being used to make us feel offense. Often you will see right-wing idiots targeting the woke as if it's such a bad thing to care about issues. But ultimately, I think that there's not enough of it right now, and it's kind of horrifying to watch us backslide. There have been a couple of things I've seen recently which have really brought this up again. Currently, there is a clip on the internet from some kind of interview with Keira Knightley in which an interviewer asks her about J.K. Rowling. She's casted in this new Harry Potter audiobook, and a lot of people are upset with a lot of the actors involved in that because there are quite a few big names in it, if I remember correctly. And obviously these people, by working for J.K. Rowling or participating in something that is using her work and that is going to give her money, it is a little bit maybe not on the side of trans rights. Keira Knightley seemingly doesn't care about trans rights. If you've seen the clip, you will know. Something that she says, which I think is the attitude of a lot of people nowadays, and it really angers me, is, there's a lot of different opinions and we're not always going to agree, but we have to learn to respect each other. Now, I have many problems with this statement because ultimately it's one thing to say we have to learn to respect each other, but why would I learn to respect people who could ultimately put people in danger? We are always asking the minority groups, the targeted groups, to be patient and learn to live with their oppressors, with the people who are pushing hatred against them, who are literally trying to change laws to take away our rights. We are constantly being asked to respect those people and live with them when they are doing nothing of the sort towards us. And it really angers me, because why are we expected to be the ones who show the respect and back down when ultimately our safety is at risk? This spreading of hatred, I think that people think that saying bad things just stops at saying bad things, but it really doesn't. It carries on so much further. How do you think that these political leaders and dictators and horrible people throughout history got to where they were? It started with the spreading of hatred, the spreading of words and misinformation and just spewing bigotry. It all starts with an opinion. That's another thing I want to discuss. Why is bigotry of any kind being normalized as a political opinion? It's not political opinion, it's bigotry. I don't like that agreeing or disagreeing that a group of people deserves human rights is a political opinion. And again, speaking of, the spreading of hatred, we need to talk about Charlie Kirk. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and condone violence, but the fact that this man died at the hands of the violence that he was essentially fighting for people to have the right to use. This man said the most awful things about possibly every marginalized group under the sun, and there are people telling me that I have to forgive him for that. I am also not a fan of the rhetoric that someone being a husband and or a father makes them a good person. I don't like the idea of that at all, because all awful people come from somewhere. All awful people have mothers. A lot of awful men are husbands and have kids. That is just a fact. And also, what does that mean for the people who don't get married or don't have kids? What are we trying to say about those people? Does it make them immoral? So not really happy about some of the reactions to that stuff. And it's that thing of like, it feels like a switch up because people claim to be woke and people claim to be progressive, but then suddenly we're not anymore and we care about empathy all of a sudden. Where was this empathy for the genocide? Where was this empathy for kids being shot in school? Where is this empathy for sexual assault victims? Where is it? I don't know, because it seems like a lot of people don't seem to display it for any of those things. And this is the thing as well, that a lot of people like to just say, put the politics aside for a second, and that we don't have to be political. I've noticed that it's mostly privileged white people who say that they aren't political. But unfortunately, for the rest of us, for those of us who don't fit into that box, we can exactly just step away from that, because these things actually affect our lives. They change our lives. There are people that came before me who fought for me to have the rights that I have today, to be able to do the things that I do in my life today. And it could just so quickly slip back. It's so easy for people to just say, deal with it, when they are never the ones being threatened. And it's so easy for people to complain and cry and scream about violence when they finally understand what it's like to see themselves as the victim. But for many of us, we have been seeing ourselves as the victims for decades. It's really disheartening to see in the country you live in race riots and being told that you're not welcome here, seeing the way that we treat immigrants. It's disgusting and it needs to be changed immediately. Again, another group of people who you guys don't seem to have empathy for at all. It's just a very frustrating time to be alive when you aren't a white man. And even if I was, I would still care about all of these things deeply, and I would hope that I would have the same opinion, because you should care, because that's what empathy is. You should care about the other people around you and sticking up for them and using your privilege to say something when maybe other people can't. I don't know if any of this is coherent. Good luck editing this, Blake. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye.